We find ourselves in our own version of Plato's cave, an allegory that explores how knowledge of the world, of levels of reality, is limited by our experiences and our senses. Here you are at USF in our sustainability program in this production course, but still stuck in a version of Plato's cave. Here, your senses and experiences are limited, and what you learn in school are still mere shadows on the wall. From your current locked position, you can't see that the shadows on the wall are just that, just flat representations of the richness and complexity of the real world. Now, there's a particular song that I want to highlight. Everyone wants to rule the world. Listen to these lyrics closely. Welcome to your life. There's no turning back. Acting on your best behavior. Turn your back on Mother Nature. Everybody wants to rule the world. Now, in the cave of theory and abstractions, your back really is turned on reality and on the nature of reality. There are all these competing interests that unfairly determine the final outcomes, and you may feel powerless to participate. We all have what we think are our own visions of a better world, but since none of us can see the whole world outside the cave, and few of us share what we do see, how do we know what the collective result could or should be? A tragedy of the commons, perhaps? A comedy of errors and judgment? Of course, in democratic societies, we believe that the key to acting on our best behavior and not turning our back on Mother Nature and avoiding that tragedy is to bring as many voices and as many visions of the world as possible into the cave and the conversation. And then, even stuck in the cave, we can help each other through education to tackle societal and personal indecision. We are armed with the scientific method and the emergent truths that result from a maieutic, Platonic dialectic. The song points to the solution that we're welcoming you to in this course. It's my own design, it's my own remorse. Help me to decide, help me make the most of freedom and of pleasure. Nothing ever lasts forever. Everybody wants to change the world? The Pulitzer Prize-winning scientist communicator René Dubos famously said, "Creating a desirable future demands more than foresight. It requires vision." And the visionary futurist Buckminster Fuller, he wrote, "We now have the technology and the know-how for all of humanity to live better than all the kings and emperors in history." We're so close. We actually have ways to use art and science to marry our visions to make the needed decisions. So in this act, we want to create new visions of the worlds everybody seems to want to rule, and show those visions, share our visions in a more compelling way than mere 2D renderings on a screen. Because even if we use 3D programs to make compelling visualizations of our visions for a better tomorrow, we're still thinking merely out loud rather than out loudest. We creative artists and scientists, see, we get to play around in VR fields of multidimensional creation, but our audiences, like those of you viewing this now, you must still watch us chained in your caves from behind a screen, whether stuck in a classroom or in the cinema or on your home computer screen. The people we're trying to convince are still forced to be passive spectators, and that isn't fair to you or them. It robs the viewer of agency. Today's technology makes it possible for all of us to literally walk, run, jump, and fly through alternate metaverse versions of the worlds we know, worlds of our own creation. And so in this act, we're going to put them into VR, AR, XR formats that people can truly interact with. Some of the new techniques that we're going to use for world building in this act are called photogrammetry and mesh modeling, texturing, animating, and scripting, all put in the service of a 3D spatial experience. And most of the heavy lifting is now done with AI, so you can get started with your own cell phone camera. We can now use our personal communication devices to take any natural object or archaeological artifact like this and digitize it through photogrammetry and send a completely faithful simulation of it through the internet anywhere in the world to be 3D printed and studied, or to be placed in a virtual museum or a recreation of the time period and context that it occurred in. And we can now scan this entire cave, or the prison caves of our own homes and work environments, from inside and build it out and then do a walkthrough even when we can't walk very far. Without even leaving the cave, we can now also remotely fly a low-cost drone through passages too narrow or inaccessible for human beings. With drone photogrammetry, we can capture the entire landscape, inside and out, and we can do so in wavelengths of light and sound that we humans can't even see. We can put on our VR headsets, and now we can walk and fly together throughout the cave as if it were a virtual escape room. And heck, maybe even together we can figure out a way to get out. This is how spatial VR technology can also help us get out of the metaphorical cave of unsustainability that we feel currently trapped in. So in this act, we're going to take those 2D visions and flesh them out from screen making to world building. The thought process is a little different, adding dimensions of sight and sound so that we're in immersive, interactive, 360-degree surround sight and surround sound environments. But once you get the hang of it, there's really no turning your back on reality or Mother Nature, and there is no turning back. So, let's break these chains. I think we've outgrown them. And let's move on to infinity and beyond.